Today, we're going to be learning about trying to save on resources. As you can see, I had this idea because I had some of this copper pipe and some of these other hoses and small pumps to help heat our aquaponic system, which consists of probably about 20,000 gallons of water in our pond, in our greenhouse, in our streams, and all the different ponds we move it. And all this wasted heat we're getting from the fire pit. So I unbent this copper, I put a few little stainless steel connectors on it, and the pump's over there. And I just want to show everybody, look at the side of that, 600 degrees. Now look at the dirt. That's the dirt about an inch away. It's 197, oh, I'm choking on the smoke. Whoa, excuse me. And even the rocks, 600, that's about an inch away, 245. Look, 130 degrees. I'm about 6-7 inches up. I would even say about 10 inches away, and it's 100 degrees. So I'm gonna wrap this around here, bury it down in there so it'll be underground where it's over 200 degrees, and then put this circulating pump back on here, which this is the return for all the different places on the property. That gravity feeds back here, and then it pumps back. All right, so here's what it's kind of looking like before I bury it. I'm just gonna try to keep it off the side because, as you can see, the sides can get 600 degrees. But check this out. That copper pipe is 227 degrees and it's 4 inches away. 238, 238, and now I'll bury this back in. It started off at about 52 degrees. I've only had it running a minute or two. And look at that, 83 degrees. Wow. So it's definitely starting to crank up. I'm gonna bury this in and then run some tests. This is all just a prototype. This pump would probably have to be replaced. It's just a transfer, a cheap one from Home Depot. I don't know if it can handle the water, especially if this water starts going through there at about 200 degrees. I'm gonna bury this hose around the outer edge only because it's a heavy duty commercial hose for pressure washers. And it's 106 degrees, 101 degrees, 98 degrees. So if I bury it out in the rocks, I'll bury the other stuff in the dirt and rocks around there. I think we'll get a whole nother perimeter of heating with this. All right, let's give it a whirl and let's bury this thing in. Alrighty, so here we got it buried. I buried the copper deeper, about 4 to 6 inches away from the metal rim, because like I say, it gets 600 degrees, but 200 to 400, copper pipe melts at 400. And now we'll pack it back in. I think the hose will be fine around there because that's a good 12 inches and it usually gets around 100 degrees. And then I'll bury the rest down here. And this is just rigged up ghetto right now. It's the return. And I'll probably make a little thing in there for the pump to sit in there or get a better pump. And then eventually we're gonna greenhouse this area. And then we burn fires in the wintertime, probably a few times a week. And if we could do that, we might be able to save thousands of dollars on our water heating bills and perhaps even get it to, we'd love to keep it more like 75 degrees, the water. By keeping the water that warm, the electric heaters don't need to come on because you have, 20,000 gallons of hot water all in these ponds in these greenhouses, and it really makes a difference. All right, let's bury this in and see what we got. All right, so took a little break, took a little rest. We're here in the Stream Dream Fruity Fish House where we oxygenate our water and we're experimenting with different types of growing streams and this fish in here that we're going to eat, and then everything goes back. And by keeping this warm, 70 degrees by example, there's no heat on. The water's at 70 degrees and it's 78 in here. So hopefully this new little heating system is warming up the water. And if we could just make a fire, which we normally do, as you can see, it's all buried in now. And just let it sit, that little circulation pump is going to use far less electricity than it's going to take with resources and gas to heat that water to 70. Let's see what we got around it. 219, 132, 226. All right. Wow. Ouch. 170. Singed myself. So it's really heating up. Look at that. Whoa. 400, 300. As I go away, 200. So this all had to heat up, and now we've got it a little buried. I'm gonna insulate this a little better. You know, this is the prototype. If this works, then we'll make a real one. Let's see what the... Holy cow, 183 degrees. Wow. Wow. All right, so I don't know if that's gonna get too warm for the hose, you know, and we might have to use a pump. A friend of mine gave me a pump off of a water circulator for a boiler, and I might rig that up there and bury it underground in a little box, because that is awesome. If this can keep the water, that will make a major difference in our heating costs. I'm actually shocked. Let's check it again. Wow, 160 degrees. So now all this water will go back to the waterfall. And even if it is 200 degrees, right now it's 29 degrees and windy. It might be like up to 34 now. But even if that water is 200 degrees, all the other water from the property circles to that sump pump, and then it'll return to this waterfall. In the Koi Aquaponics Pleasure Dome waterfall filter, and then mix with that water, oxygenate before it returns to the system, because we wouldn't want to be dumping 140, 160 degree water in here. All right, so check this out. So that pump is, I don't know, a few hundred feet away, and it's on a gravity fed all into that same pool, the heater, and here's where it returns in. And normally by the time it gets here, it's 50 or 60 degrees. Check that out. So it's sending 80 degree water up into the, oh, sorry, not there. 78, 80 degree water back into the waterfall, back into the system. And it's not going to heat it up in one day, but I bet you can get a few degrees a day off of a fire. And then if it sits, just throw a few more logs in the morning, and then we'll see. And if it really works, what we'll do is we'll double up the copper. That was just, this is all materials we had on hand that were left over. So we wanted to build this prototype to see if it was going to work. And boy, if we can get water going back 150. Let's see what we got. One last test. All right, that's on the metal. 600. That's about an inch away. 300. That's about 4 inches away. No. All right, that's a good 12 inches away. And 100 degrees to where the hose was buried in the ground, so it shouldn't affect that. And now let's see what we're getting a water return here. All right, so looks like we got about 100 degrees going. I think it dropped 50 degrees in there. I bet because the water from the rain pond and the nebula pond all the way up there must have cycled in here, and that's bringing water in that's 60 degrees. So that's pretty good that it's not dropping it to 100 degrees in this basin. Oh, look, it kicked on. So it just kicked on, so it's 86 degrees. But still, it's usually 50 or 60 degrees coming back through the ground. We'll leave it running for a while, and I'll do a short follow-up video. But I have a feeling this is gonna work out really well. And we'll buy 100 or 200 feet of coil of copper. And I think we could bring it a little closer to the side too, and get a better heat out of it. And then loop it around here. And we even may loop some in the compost inside the greenhouse. Because why not heat that up? And then once the compost heat up, it's heating up the stream dream, and it's heating up the water. Well, have a fantastic day. Do something outside and in a homestead today. Thanks for coming. Please like and subscribe.